Today is January 31st, 1975, and I'm interviewing Dr. Wisliam Brickman in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. When did you, the first question I really wanted to ask was, when did you first encounter survivors of the Holocaust? And what took place from that?
Well, I first met Jewish people who survived concentration camps in, I guess it was May 1945, when I was assigned to all right. I was in the 920th Counterintelligence Corps Detachment, and my assignment was to supervise and control the border, which had just been set up again between Germany and Czechoslovakia. During the course of my daily activities, I would examine the papers of persons trying to get into West Germany from Czechoslovakia. And the first actual confrontation with Jewish people occurred when a little man, dark-haired, fair-skinned, asked me at the end of routine examination of papers whether I would consider permitting a group of Greeks to enter Germany. The Czechs were willing to let them out, Czechoslovakia, and I was asked permission to admit them in West Germany. This is a location in the Bavarian forest in southeast Germany. I asked him, why didn't you go the other way to get to Greece? And his answer was, we were talking German, his answer was that they would prefer to go by way of Germany. And well, I said, we must be sure you are Greeks. And I asked him, addressed him in modern Greek, questions like, good morning, how are you, etc. And he didn't show any comprehension, nor did he reply to me. So I repeated it and added a few more expressions and didn't answer me. Finally, I said to him, you have to convince me that you are Greek by speaking Greek. So his answer, I'm telling you this little bit, dynamics. His answer was, Matovu Alecha Yaakov Mishkevsecha Yisrael. I said to him, come and say Metnea. Took him into interrogation booth and started yelling, Oi, was ist mir geschehen? Reingefallen bei den Amerikanern an der Hand. So I said, Hot nicht mehr. He said, you sind ein Yid. I said, ja, ich bin ein Yid. Oi, was soll ich Shalom Aleichem? So I asked him, what's this idea of playing Greeks? He said, well, we got through the Russians, the Poles, the Czechs with our Greek without any trouble, but we had to run into you. Well, I said, it's okay. I said, now you can call yourself Jews. And he immediately brought about 20 people, men, women, children, and I sent them on to a place where the military government, Captain Samuel, was it Samuel? I don't remember his first name, Feinberg of Brooklyn, the military governor, a lawyer. He gave them places to stay, a hotel, food, clothing, etc. Shortly afterwards, in collaboration with Captain Feinberg, tried to help the young DPs, mostly upper teenagers and lower 20s, to settle down, to give them something to do, to rehabilitate them, their attitudes. They're nice youngsters, but occasionally get into difficulty trying to identifying themselves now with the American Army and doing things which they're not authorized to do. So we had to talk to them about I remember on several occasions telling them that what they're doing was an embarrassment to them and to the American Army. And
You mean black marketeering?
A little bit. Everybody, of course, was doing that, but we felt that we ought to train them, teach them. Whatever I did was, I would say, quasi-official.
Right.
In a way, it could have been interpreted as official because I was responsible for security of the United States Army in our area, and had to know about everything and deal with everything, whether it was Americans, Germans, other Jews and other DPs. So by this positive activity, we're also helping my mission. But of course, to understand what I was doing, it's necessary to know the background. I brought, of course, the yeshiva background and teaching in Jewish schools and activity in Jewish organizations. So I wasn't overwhelmed by the fact that there were survivors. I wasn't under cultural shock. You see, I knew this. I knew this was. There were going to be people, and I knew that what their needs were going to be. So I didn't have any special training. You see, I knew of the work of the Vad Hatzalah and so forth.
For example, did you witness any of their activities?
Yes, I went visiting DP camps and I saw at Feldefing and Deggendorf and Fürth, Bayern. I visited and met sometimes officials. I also met with rabbis who came over. I recognized them, you see. They couldn't recognize me so well. Rabbi Joseph H. Rookstein, Rabbi Pinchas Wohlgelernt, they were working for Benetton and Communal and other organizations in the United States. I would meet with them in Nuremberg and other areas. But my work took me sometimes to go to other parts of Germany, Czechoslovakia, Austria. In Czechoslovakia, of course, I went primarily to Prague, and there I was in the shul and met Jewish people there who had reorganized the community. This was before the communists took over, of course. In my area, back in Germany now, I spent all day Yom Kippur from Kol Nidre till the end of Nila as the chazan, the rabbi, and everything for the young Jewish DPs.
Where?
In a town called Regen, which is the capital of the Landkreis called Regen, of which this aforementioned Captain Feinberg was the military governor. I gave them sermons, and there was the chazan and so forth.
There wasn't the chaplain, or there wasn't the rabbi?
We're too far. The chaplain was busy, of course, with his own, with the troops.
Right.
And where we were, there weren't many soldiers. We were near the border.
Right.
So I drove over Yom Kippur, stayed with them through, and it was just a matter of also keeping their morale up, and I had to have a place for Yom Kippur too. Too far away from anything. I could have gone to, as I did for Rosh Hashanah, I went to what do you call it, to Carlsbad, down there. Incidentally, I also worked together with some Czech Jewish officers who were in the Czech Legion and marched all the way in now. And, we went together to Jewish DPs in our part of West Germany. And so they were also interested, not only for themselves, but in the survivors. So these people came in with the Czech army. They were not in the concentration camp.
I understand.
Not lately. Perhaps the most interesting thing was the interest of Jewish people, officers, men, in helping. And I say this man, Captain Fambro, he was a lawyer by profession. He did exemplary work, selfless.
This was in Reagan.
Yes.
What were the type of things that he was involved in, if you remember?
Yes, well, a military governor is in charge of everything. He had a staff.
Right, I understand. But
food, education, police, security, social. I would often work with his security man.
do you know whether the Army was aware of all of the activities, the illegal activities, and they just let it go by?
No, they didn't let it go by. There were, I understand there must have been some Jewish people arrested at one time or another.
Well, yeah, there were.
Yeah.
But I mean, what type of orders did you receive?
None. This was, my orders were open. I had to ensure security.
Were you involved in letting Jews go past? I mean, aside from this one incident?
Well, of course, you see, the first order that General Eisenhower issued was the border was closed.
Right.
However, in cases of hardship.
Right.
Then the border control people should exercise their judgment. Well, we had more hardship than the Jews.
Right.
So we let them in. Not only I, but there were about 6 posts in Czechoslovakia into Germany. Each one was manned by a Jewish person who did not communicate with it. We didn't communicate with each other. Right. Each one did the same thing. See? And they're all classmates of mine in the intelligence school. This is what we call hashgacha pratit. I'll follow this up by saying that this was not, to my best knowledge, planned. No orders from anybody. Nobody contacted me, whether it was the Joint Distribution Committee or Haganah or anybody else. Absolutely no connection with anybody. But it was done on the basis of the principle that hardship merits leniency in the rules. The rules were the law was flexible.
Right.
Now, in other words, when a German person who obviously had a wooden leg came and asked he wanted to go to the other side to see his physician, obviously let him through. See? Right. That's a hardship case. Phony people we didn't let through. We checked every person. We had massed lists of wanted people, and I picked up 2 SS colonels who were trained by the Russians to do subversive work in our area. Just by comparison of names. There are a lot of things like that. Jews often served as conveyors of information, because they would come and say, point to somebody, this fellow was in a concentration camp, he was an SS man, and we followed it up and arrested them. So, useful in our work, too. And some of them were translators for unit, not my unit, other units. We had, as you say, I wanted to emphasize very much the role of people like Captain Feinberg, who, I don't know all the others, but I assume there were others.
Well, you said you went to Feldafing.
Yeah, I visited that, once.
Did you,
I saw the Vadhatsala people.
Did you see Irving Smith there?
I don't recall that.
He was the commander?
No, I must have, because I usually go into a place to the head, identify myself, show my credentials, and say this is no official status, but just let them know who was. Right. In Munich, outside Munich, was a place called Funk Kaserne, and I think it was a JBC man was telling me probably had Polish refugees who were trying to cause trouble, and I personally beat one up. And on another occasion, he called in the army with tanks. So there were people who were very devoted and creative in their work. I ran across a lemon occasionally, a young girl, a social worker who's interested in good times, and how can she get into the Nuremberg nightclub?
Who is she involved? I mean,
JDC.
She was involved.
She was a JDC appointee, a social worker, I think from Chicago, and she was disappointed in several grounds. I didn't ask her to accompany me, and I didn't recommend anybody else for precisely this reason. I mean, after all, there weren't very many Jewish girls around, you understand, and it'd be nice to go, even if you weren't personally interested in her, just to spend the evening, but I wouldn't take her. I didn't recommend any of my Jewish colleagues to take her. For the same reason that she, when I talked to her about business, she was always asking, how did you get into see the nightclub? Which was accessible to us, of course, without any difficulty. Wouldn't do it. This is the only lemon, as I say, that I ran across. But everybody else that I know, every Jewish person in the army and in the JDC and Vadat Tzala and all the others, the chaplains, everybody I think did remarkable work. This coming back to Captain Feinberg, he came over to me one day. We were about 15 miles distant from each other, and he came in for a visit, and we sat down and chatted, and he says, the young people whom we were sponsoring, helping out, he said they wanted, there were 3 couples who wanted to get married. So he says, you'll have to get a chaplain from the Third Army. That's no problem for him. But he says, what do we have to arrange? He says, you and I. So I said, okay, I haven't got any experience. I think he was married, I wasn't. I said, I haven't got any experience in this, but I've been to weddings and I know what goes on. I said, I'll tell you what, let's divide. We shall be the Mechatanim. I said, because of your military government powers, why don't you act as the Mechatan for the Kalis, and because you have more involved dresses, things like that, the gowns, and I'll take the Chasanim. And as the Rebbe geholfen, one of my operatives, German, who knew that I was interested in books. Everybody knew I was interested in books, mostly Nazi propaganda and anti-Semitic and anti-Catholic and all that, which I collected, very nice library. They were not allowed to use it, and they confiscated them, obviously. I did them a favor. I did myself and research a favor. Got a lot of them downstairs. Some I gave to the libraries, including some manuscripts. Some I sent to Yad Vashem, original manuscripts. So we agreed, and we agreed on a date that would be convenient for everybody for the wedding, and he was in charge of the place and everything, all the other things. I was told that the place was a lot of books, and this was a former Gestapo headquarters of one of the towns. So I went down with a colleague of mine, and I looked at the books, but I saw other things. I saw clothing. So black suits, white shirts, ties, hats, Hamburg hats. The boys lived pretty well, those Gestapo boys. So I confiscated that in the name of security, and I provided nice-looking suits, hats, so forth, ties, shirts, shoes for the Chasanim, for 3 Chasanim, and 3 the college were taken care of by Captain Feinberg. And at the wedding, the chaplain who was from Hebrew Union College, I think, or JIR, his name is Eugene Lippman.
Oh, sure.
You know him, from Washington. He asked me to marry off one couple. After we got talking about background, he asked me, and I told him, Shiva Bacher, he says, well, I guess you can sign get in conditions. So he said, okay. I didn't volunteer, but he asked me.
Right.
So I married one couple, he married the other, and a DP husband, the third. So you see, we kept up all these relationships, and then when I was transferred in the interior, about 50 kilometers on the Danube, in the city of Deggendorf, which is halfway between Regensburg and Passau, where in the 13th century, I believe, there was a pogrom against Jews, capturing the Crusades and all that sort of thing. There we had a DP camp, formerly it must have been a military barracks. And they used to go there every Friday, Shabbos, wherever I wasn't busy. Unfortunately, I had to work.
Yeah.
Security 24 hours a day, on call. I used to daven and
This was in Dingdor.
I used to bring them cans of kosher meat I guess from home. I didn't like them. They were very salty, but they loved them. I gave them all that I got. Things like that. And helped in many cases. Once I think there was an emergency, I had to come down and do something for them. There was a little threat and able to solve that in a matter of minutes. But I also was acted as a kind of intermediary between them and the city authorities. Sometimes they forgot their place, you see.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to remind them that the war was over.
Do you remember any incidents in particular where this?
No, not particular. It was little minor things, but to...
Wasn't a JDC person there?
No, but they didn't have the power.
Mm-hmm.
When I spoke, the mayor jumped.
Right, well.
When I was informed by Germans that people coming into town from the rest of the county were discriminated by the local boys, told them to go at the end of the line, you know, and I went into the mayor and I told his honor, I asked his honor if he knows the definition of democracy. He wasn't sure, and I told him democracy. First come, first served. Doesn't matter whether you're a Deggendorf or a Plattlinger or anything else. I said, you will enforce democracy, I said. To us, all Germans are equal. There were no complaints from anybody. This was a quasi job, because the military government should have done that, but I didn't stop asking permission.
Could you have gotten into difficulty for that type of
No, because, first place, we're on good terms with the military government, always. Second, and the local troops. See, they didn't know that I was in the army. They thought I was only of the army, but I was of and in the army.
Right.
We didn't wear any things, just U.S., like the officers and officers' clothes, but nobody knew about our backgrounds except ourselves. And this was a great advantage in the Army because my official title was Mr. Mr. means, and my credentials in Washington, D.C., the War Department.
Well, wasn't that a giveaway?
What?
That you must have been involved in something else aside from something secret?
Of course, everything I did was secret, or it's not top secret. Everything we wrote was marked, it's classified. Some of the things that we do on the front page without names, on the front page of the Times for several days. But I'd say that obviously a lot of things, the JDC was involved day by day work.
Right.
But there was something, and very often people came to me directly instead of going through the JDC because they knew the power that we could exercise. And the power was good if you didn't overdo it, if you didn't abuse it.
Right.
Whether it's power within the army or with anywhere else. You rationed it out, and the suggestion of power is more important than power itself. And people know that you have it, and you can use it any time. You don't have to use it.
Right.
I had, of course, contacts in Munich. I went out to marry off a friend of mine in Munich, and that's where I met Rav Lazarowski, who was one of the senior rabbis in Philadelphia. He was then the chief rabbi in Munich. And, so I spent there several days, and I got to know the community, watch and observe them, and heard rumors, sometimes. But I'd like to give a little case study of how I was able to do something which, if hadn't, would have been a scandal, a major scandal. Is that right?
Yes,
to
fine,
speak about
fine.
it? I was assigned, my last job was at Nuremberg at the trial in the Palace of Justice as a member of a five-man team of special agents to supervise the security of the four prosecutors, Judge Jackson for the United States, Rudenko for the Soviet Union, who were the chief prosecutors for England and France, well, it doesn't matter right now, and the 8 judges. And our job was to train selected MPs who were supposed to have higher intelligence than the average MPs. We were never credited with much intelligence, but these were the better people, and we had to train them in how to be a bodyguard, personal bodyguard. So we would be driving them and living with them and so forth, keeping personal eye on them. And of course, realize if any one of them were hurt or killed, it would be tremendous, not only scandal, the tremendous reverberation. So this was a very serious and critical assignment for us. We did our work in various ways, and I was sitting almost every day. I would sit about 25 feet away from Grobman and Hess and all the others. And of course, they didn't know what I knew, and I just walked by while they speaking with the counsel. Of course, officially I wasn't supposed to know, it wasn't right, but I just wanted to see what these fellows were like. So it was very close to them. But one day, toward the end of my stay, when I get home, this was already in March 1946, I was asked by my chief to undertake an investigation of the Jewish DP camp in Fürth, which was Nuremberg and Fürth are twin cities, practically. Apparently, the General Watson, whom I had met, and was a very pleasant person, and the gentleman, he was in charge of the whole Nuremberg-Fürth military district. His Inspector General, Major Kruger, turned in a report. He had visited the DP camp, it was rather big, and claimed that there was black market activity and stolen goods. So in my team, of the 5 men, 4 were Jews. 2 European, 2 American. The chief was an American. A detective in civilian life. He was a lieutenant detective in the Washington police force. And one was a Christian fellow. We were the team assigned to security, what we call personality security office. And so I was asked to look into this, mainly because of my known association visiting DP camps. And they say, in my spare time, I always did that.
And they were aware of this?
My colleagues, of course. Right? I would tell them. I wanted them to know, especially the Jewish people. Of the Jewish people, I think I was the only one who had this constant activity and interaction and identification. One was a Dutchman, a Dutch Jew, one was a German Jew, but very distant. The American Jew, who was also the chief, was somewhat warmer, but didn't know. He had the knowledge, you see. And didn't make much of an effort, as far as I could see. The Christian fellow was a very nice fellow, but he had no knowledge either. But they were sympathetic when I explained everything that was going on. We always shared, when we ate, we always shared with each other experiences. It's not only the professional things, the human things, because everybody knows. We lived together in one house. Well, in any case, first thing I did, I could smell a plot here. I could smell some anti-Semitism because I knew that the black market activity was done by the Germans, by military people, by the Polish and other DPs, and I reasoned also by Jews. To single them out, I felt was a possibility, a chashash of anti-Semitism. So what I did was first take the report, copy of the report that was submitted to the general. You see, the inspector general's on the staff.